Welcome to the $1,000,000 Tipping Point podcast, the podcast specifically for women entrepreneurs and those looking to make $1,000,000 in their business or seven figures. Here we interview people trying to figure out, how did they get there? What do they do with their business? So here today we have Chrissy Chin with us. Welcome, Chrissy.
Hello. I'm so excited to be here, Kiri.
Chrissy Chin has years of experience helping thousands of multi-passionate entrepreneurs that want to streamline their business, leverage automation, show up as a professional, and attract their dream customers online. Her experience in network marketing and then building her own course and membership site and growing it to $1,000,000 business in just 20 months gives her a unique perspective and the go-to coach for those interested in blending multiple passions into one brand or leveraging affiliate marketing. Her done is better than perfect motto gets her students to take action every day so they can get faster results. Now, 20 months, that is so impressive.
Thank you. I do like to say it's like the 3 to 5 year overnight success, right? Like 20 months from when we literally launched the business. But then when I think back to it, there was so much that I did, even unknowingly did, that really put us in a position to build quickly.
So when we talk about that, like what you unknowingly did, when we look at your background and the research I've done, you started out as a registered nurse, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so were you working a little bit on this business or multiple businesses? And were you working with your sister? Were you working by yourself? When did that actually start? Tell me a little bit, go back to your RN days.
Yeah, I was thinking about this recently and thinking back, when did I really start to get interested in entrepreneurship, if you will? Didn't even realize that was what I was doing, but it was 10 years ago, 2012. And I had only been a nurse for a couple years. But I remember as a nurse one day driving from the city of Chicago to the hospital, and I drive along the lake. And I see the lake out to the left of me, and I look out the window and I see all of these people doing cookouts with their family and their friends. And my boyfriend at the time, his friends had a boat, and so he's like, I'm going to meet up with my friends and go out on the boat. And I just had such FOMO. I was like, I want to be doing that. Like, it's Friday night. I was going in for a night shift. Like, I want to be doing that. Like, what did I sign up for? And so that was kind of my aha moment that like, maybe this isn't the lifestyle that I really wanted, working nights and weekends and holidays. As a nurse, you're the low man on the totem pole for such a long time. And so that was kind of my moment of like, I think I want more. So like first started with, should I go back to school? Should I do something else? So I just kind of started exploring things, but that was my moment. And just following my passions and what I was interested in. As a nurse, I was interested in helping people. And really liked preventative health. So in the hospital, I wasn't getting to do much of that, but through my own health journey and finding alternative therapies that I could use to heal my body, and realize that I was sensitive to quite a bit of foods that were causing joint pain and GI upset. And so doing these alternative things, muscle testing and whole food supplements, I realized that those make a huge difference and we could help people stay out of the hospital, right? I just saw these patients coming back time and time again, or I worked in peds. So someone that would come in with diabetes and then they would come in with like a spike. And it's like, if you could learn the things that you could do to regulate this at home, you wouldn't be back here so much. So found a passion in that and got trained in muscle testing. Because I had used it as a patient. I was like, this could be kind of cool. Did the training. And of course they pitched, you could have $1 million practice, and I was like, oh, that sounds exciting. Like time and financial freedom. But something did the training and started reaching out to chiropractors to join their practice. And something was holding me back subconsciously that was making me self-sabotage, like actually joining a practice and doing this service.
Do you feel like you were just like going back to what you had, even though it wasn't long shifts and quite the same? Did you feel like I'm just going back to work for someone again? Like,
well, I was doing the whole nursing thing, but what was happening was I had a chiropractor who wanted me to come on board and, needed XYZ from me. And I just kept not following through. And I was like, why am I, after so long, I was like, why am I doing this? Like I could have been in his practice, starting to see customers of his and building up my own practice months ago. Why am I dragging my feet and actually not following through on this? And realized it was because that actually wasn't going to give me the freedom that I really wanted. It was going to be different. I would be working during the week, setting more of my own hours, but it wasn't going to give me that true freedom to be able to pick up and go anywhere or run my business from anywhere, right? I was still going to have to go in, see patients one-on-one. And my husband and I, not at the time, but we were talking about moving. And I realized, oh my gosh, if I built up this practice and had to see patients and I moved, I would have to start over.
Yeah.
And so just something, and I know it was subconscious because I didn't realize it at first, but now I realize that's what it really was. It wasn't really going to be perfectly aligned with what I really wanted, even though I didn't know exactly what I really wanted. Does that make sense?
It does. So for you, the freedom involved being able to do this from anywhere and be able to drop something, right? Like go to the lake and go on a boat at 1 p.m. and come back maybe and work at 3 p.m. if you wanted to, or 4 p.m., whatever.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Move
so that
anywhere,
was kind of like the catalyst.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. So that was just, a part of the journey where it's like, I started to explore one thing, 10 years ago, didn't pan out, which was fine. And then basically just started continuing to explore. Long story short, my sister got into network marketing with an essential oils company and told us she was going to do this as a business. And I was like, great, sis, that's amazing. This is my oldest sister. There's 4 of us. I was like, that's amazing. Like, you do the business. I'll support you. There's no way I'm doing that ever. She was like, yeah, no, like that's totally fine. But like the products are really awesome and you have a new baby, like you should try the products. So I tried the products and within a week fell in love and was telling my friends like, oh my gosh, they've helped with this and this and this. And one of my friends was like, okay, get me a kit. And I was like, okay, I think I have a referral link. I'll send it to you. I got a check in the mail and I was like, oh, like this is what that business is. Okay. Like, I think I could do this. A lot more freedom and flexibility. And so I saw the income disclosure and was like, oh, I could literally go out to lunch like I just did, sign my friend up with a kit, make money, and I could make that amount of money every month. Like that's a possibility. People are doing that, and not, small percentage, but like it's possible. And so that just got me really excited. I jumped in feet first. And my goal was we decided to move to Atlanta. My goal was to replace my nurse's income with that business when we moved, so I didn't have to find another job. The thought of like redoing my resume, interviewing for, oh my gosh, I did not want to do that. So I definitely had the motivation and the fire lit under me to put in the effort and the work. And it did. It took work and it took time and all of that, but I did that. So I moved down here, was doing that business. And through doing that business with health and wellness, again, still following my passions, what I was passionate about, I realized that I was really passionate, even more so on the health side as the business side, and helping other people start their own businesses to find that freedom that they want as well, kind of doing it in their own way. And so through trying to make my journey easier in building my business, I was creating these resources that my team could use to kind of make this process faster, and was like, oh my gosh, this could be another business in and of itself, because if my team wants this, other teams want this. And so brought my youngest sister on board. She's the design guru. Like I'm all things business strategy and copy and all of that. And she's design and more tech. And so it was like, hey, I have all these ideas in this content, but I need it to be pretty and I need to get it on a website to be able to sell this thing. And so we teamed up together and have worked. It's just worked out amazing since then, and launched that business, Grow Workspace. And that's the one that in 20 months hit $1 million. So it's just kind of this process of immersing myself in what I was passionate about at the time, and learning and exploring and networking, and then just being open to the next opportunity, or being open to, my gut telling me like, hey, you find this interesting, like, let's follow that for a little bit. Let's see what that turns into, and not just living in fear and saying no, I don't know what that looks like, so I'm not going to explore it, but leaning in and exploring it more.
I was going to say, you have to be a little brave to do that. And I'm currently struggling to be transparent with that because I love podcasting right now, but it's really hard to monetize a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going down that rabbit hole, like, okay, let's see, how could I make this like make me some money? And then there's a part of me that's no. You're making good money with your other businesses right now. Don't do this. Like, don't go down here. You don't need another stress. You don't need to try to figure this out. But I'm like, but I really like this. I really like learning about people. Let me go down here. So I want to backtrack a little bit. This question might be a little forceful, or I don't know. I hope it's not rude, but a lot of what I see online for network marketing translates to MLM. And there's a bad rap out there for MLM.
Yeah.
How do you combat that? And how did you grow your network marketing business, your essential oils one, to be able to have a team and to go into this and create this new business? Because a lot of what I see, people are like, don't do MLM. There's a group of people who love it and do really well. There's some people who are like, I did it. I was burned. It's horrible. Don't do it. It's a scam. Tell us a little bit more about that specifically, because I think a lot, like you said, there's a lot of people out there who join MLM because they want the freedom, they want the flexibility, but they can't cut it. Or they fall into like, oh, this was a scam. I don't want to.
Yeah. First of all, the people who, like, as soon as I said that network marketing, as a listener, you had one of two reactions. You were like, ew, gross, MLM. Or you were like, oh, okay, cool, MLM. Right? You're one of the two.
There is no middle ground.
You kind of alluded to that, right? And the people that had that ill, gross MLM, they probably had a bad experience. They either were introduced to someone who was super spammy and salesy that does MLM, and they were like, ill, gross, that's what MLM is, right? And that's their association. Or they tried to do the business and really got burned, or put in all this effort and energy and like didn't go anywhere. Like, so I always, if someone like responds in that way, I just like to say, oh, tell me about your experience, with it. Right. Like I'm curious. I want to know, I want to learn. And then for those,
can I tell you my experience?
Yes. Tell me.
Well,
yes. Did you cringe when I said that? You're like,
well, I did at first. And what's funny? It's like funny. The brain goes immediately to negative as opposed to positive. Because I had a Mary Kay consultant that I bought products from, an Arbonne consultant that I bought products from for years and years. So I have had good experiences, but there was one person who did, I can't even remember what it was, but it was some kind of nail thing. And she gave my number to a bunch of her friends, and I was getting texts from them and I didn't know who they were. And like, I was in this position where I can't ignore you. My friend gave you my number, but now I have to be like, no, I'm not interested. I never do nails ever. It was just like one of those. I was like, this feels really illegal. Like, you can't be giving out my number.
Right. Like I did not voluntarily opt into whatever.
Right. Exactly. Like this was online. There would be like a whole thing here
for sure. And it's unfortunate that there are people out there that don't really know and understand. And I hope that I can help change that by teaching. I do attract network marketers because that's my background. I also attract a lot of non-network marketers, and I attract a lot in the middle that are in network marketing, but they're multi-passionate. They want to do more. They really want entrepreneurship. And sometimes network marketing is the stepping stone. Like, it was definitely the stepping stone for me into something more. To answer your question, to build my network marketing business enough to leave my nursing job, I led from a service aspect, from really genuinely wanting to help people with their health and wellness. And while I did want to make enough money to leave my job, really the passion for really wanting to help people with their health came first. And when you do it in that way, when you lead with your heart, when you lead with service, people can tell. When you lead with a desperation of sales, I'm big on energy. The energy that you put out, you get back. When you lead with desperation, that's what you get back. And also you push people away with that. They can tell you're just talking to them to make a sale. And that was never the case for me. Of course, I wanted to make a sale, but it was always like, just how can I help you first? And believing that the products really could help them. It was easy for me to do that because I had my own experiences. So leading with that first and foremost was what really helped. And then just the people that wanted to start their own business as well, having a passion for that, I think also really helped me. I realized that I was a health coach and a business coach and liked and enjoyed and could embrace both of those. And so I think, yeah, go ahead.
I really like that about you. I was going to say is that you can take these different passions and create them into businesses. And one of your podcast episodes I really loved was a woman. It was recent, but it was a woman who had multi passions basically, and she didn't know how to bring it all together and sell everything on the same page or something like that.
Yeah. So that was actually a clip from one of our, in one of our programs, we do live coaching calls. And so I took that clip of our coaches and I helping her blend her multi-passions. And so I did put that clip into one of our episodes. So that was what it was. And that's what I love doing. And just, like you, having your other business and then this podcast, and you're enjoying doing both. How can we blend them together to build off one another, not go in opposite direction, not even build side by side? Like, how can we get creative and strategic on really playing off of each other to build up both businesses at the same time, since you enjoy doing them? So that's like, I love kind of diving in deep and trying to figure out and think outside the box and come up with a strategy and plan. So that's just something I love doing. So I tend to attract people that want to do that. And that's been my journey. So launching Grow Workspace specifically for, young living network marketers, like that is a very niche audience. And then branching out to my own personal brand, launching the podcast, doing more business coaching, people outside of network marketing or doing network marketing in both, wanting to create online programs. I also have 2 businesses that play off each other, right? And blend, people that are doing business with Grow Workspace, they want what I'm offering in the KC Consulting, the Chrissy Chin brand. I'm doing it in my own life and learning so much that I can share with other people.
As you grew and in these 20 months, tell me a little bit about what reaching the first 100,000 was like, and then 500,000 and then 1 million. And if you could tell us about any mistakes you learned along the way.
Yeah.
Specific to your brand. It doesn't have to be like general mistake, but specific to you.
No, there's one mistake we talk about quite often. So we can get to that. It was a bit surreal at first because it was happening very quickly. And so to put it out there, we launched with a membership-based model, right? And so that definitely played a role in reaching 1 million in 20 months. Because if you launch a membership, you get members, subscribers that are paying every month and they're not canceling, then you're going to build every month on your income, right? So first month we made 8,000, second month we made 20,000 because 8,000 came from that previous month, right? And so on and so forth. And so in 4 months we had made our first 100,000, so that certainly helped with generating that income fast. But it was just a bit surreal because it was happening so fast. It was almost like we had to keep saying, like, is this really happening? Like, do we really have after 4 months, 4,000 paying members? Like, I can't believe this is happening. Like, I had a thought and a vision of what it could be. And when I asked Claire to come on board with me, I had no idea how it was going to go. And I just said, I think it could be something really big, but I don't know. So don't quit your job yet, but I think it could be something really big. And I don't even think I realized how big it could really be, but I thought it could be something big. And so when it started happening, it just kind of felt surreal. Like, is this really happening? And we just kept smiling about it and kept talking about it and texting each other like, oh my gosh, this is really happening. So it was just kind of a cool experience to feel like we even shocked ourselves, which was kind of fun and exciting. After that, I think it kind of became a little bit like, oh, let's just we're making the money and it's growing and growing. Like, okay, next goal, 500,000. And that came and went, and it didn't feel as impossible because we had seen what could happen, but we didn't really celebrate as much. And I definitely was kind of more in that group of like, great, hit the goal, next goal. And now I treat things very differently. Like every single little thing is a celebration. I celebrate all along the way, because otherwise you feel like, okay, $1 million. Like my goal is $1 million, and you hit that $1 million and nothing really changes, except for you can say like, I hit $1 million in revenue, right? Nothing really, you're not a new person. You're not a different person. You still have, things to work through in your business. Maybe even now different things to work through in your business because you're just growing exponentially. And I think I thought that it would be different when you hit that milestone, and it just wasn't really. And so having to realize like things don't actually really change. So why are we waiting until we hit our first 100K? Till we hit a $500,000, till we hit $1 million to celebrate? We should just be celebrating all along the way, really enjoying the journey every single step of the way. And then also celebrating more when that happens, because it is a great accomplishment. But all of the things that you've done along the way to get there, that's what you should be celebrating.
I think that's one of my biggest regrets with my first business. I started my virtual assistant business was I told myself I was going to celebrate. And I had these lists of things I was going to do when I got 1 client, 2 clients, when I hit 5,000 a month, when I, all of these things. I never did them. I did them once. I think I bought myself a t-shirt when I got my first client. Like I really wanted this t-shirt and I was like, that's what I'm going to buy. And then after that, it just snowballed and I just got busy and I just never did that celebrating. So it is something I want to bring back. So if you're, monetarily over $1 million, and I've seen your financials, you definitely are. If you're monetarily, what are the celebrations you have now then? I guess the mindset would shift, right? It's not so much about money because like you said, you feel the same. There's nothing internally that really has changed. So what do you celebrate now?
Yeah. All of the things. So just had a student that had done other programs similar to what we've offered. She decided to jump in, and after doing that first module she's like, I'm blown away. Like I haven't made these amount of shifts. I've done this stuff, but I haven't done exercises like this to get this deep and get this much clarity, and like left us the most amazing testimonial in our community. And like, I celebrate that all day long, like seeing the transformations in people all day long. Mm-hmm. And for me, everything is energetically. So, money and earning money is just a reflection of how I'm helping and serving people. So the more people that I can help and serve, the more money that I will be making. So, it's just a positive effect to like what I really want to do, which is help people. Like that to me, helping her shift and realize these blocks that she had that was holding her back and move through them to actually build this business that could be successful is way more powerful than the $2,000 or whatever that we brought in with her. Right. So celebrating all of the little things and celebrating, not just that next milestone of like what we brought in for our business, but the things that we can do with the money that we've brought in. So my husband and I have had a dream of having a lake house, and we've talked about it since, before the day we were married. And because of the success in our business, which that translates to all the people that I'm able to help and serve, we were able to buy a lake house. And we wanted the lake house to be able to share with other people, make memories with other people, give other people experiences that they've never had before. And so with that money, we're able to have that. So every weekend we celebrate at the lake that we get this lake house, and we invite people as often as we can. So just really enjoying the process every step of the way, and the things that we can do and how we've helped people and what we can continue to do because of that success.
Oh, that's awesome. So you talked a little bit about how you went from like $400,000 in a few months, right? But you had to have
4,000 members.
4,000 members. Sorry, that was it.
Yeah.
But that's still 4,000 is significant. A lot of membership sites start and do not get 4,000 members in that amount of time. Mm-hmm. So you must have had some kind of really great community, and maybe your marketing was amazing. Yeah. Can you go into your marketing a little bit and how you built this community?
Yeah, definitely. So this is part of I did things I didn't know I was actually doing to prepare for this business. So in my essential oils journey, and selfishly always trying to want to make my life easier or get the resources that we didn't have, I had this idea. And as I was building my business, I was like, you know what? There's a lot of different professionals that can use essential oils for themselves, but also with their patients. And they can, again, this whole like multi-passionate thing has been like threaded through the entire time. They can build a business with, this company alongside whatever they're doing: chiropractic, massage, a teacher, a nurse. And so I just had this thought of, well, if I bring a massage therapist onto my team, I know enough that I could teach her how to integrate it into her massage business to build both businesses together. But we tend to trust people that are in our same industry niche and whatnot, right? Like when I meet another nurse, we're like, yeah, nurses, like we know what's up, right? And so I thought, well, what if I had this community where there were different people in different specialties, and they came in and taught about how to use oils personally as a insert, hairstylist, massage therapist, whatever, insert profession, but then also how they might use them with their clients and how they are building this business alongside their business. So I didn't know it at the time, but I basically created a virtual summit on a Facebook group. And I cold called all of these people, cold messaged, Facebook messaged in the community that were, more high ranking leaders. And I started with one and I got one yes. So we talk about like the day Jim Bob Haggerton said yes, was like the real start of the business that I didn't even know was going to be a thing. Grow Workspace was not an idea at this time. I was just trying to solve my own problems for what I was doing then. But he said yes, and he was a pretty big pillar in the community. And so I leveraged his yes to get everyone else to say yes. I said, I'm doing this event. This is what I'm looking for. I would love for you to speak on being a DO, or being a nurse, or being a teacher, or being a hairstylist. Jim Bob has said yes, and I'm excited to have you be a part of it.
So smart.
And so because they knew who he was, and because he, for whatever reason, said yes to me, they just all started saying yes. I think I had one person end up not saying no and backing out, which was totally fine. But ran this summit, and the group grew to 40,000 people in a matter of a month, just because it was a resource out there that didn't exist. There was a lot of people promoting it, because all of the speakers, like, a summit works, they promote it to their audience. And so everyone was joining this group. And so then when Grow Workspace became an idea, a thing, I leveraged that group and community to market it, but had to be strategic with it, because the group was not just people who were doing the business, which is what our service was for. It was a mix of people who were doing the business and people who were just product users. And so I didn't really know what I was doing at the time. And so I hired someone from the yoga studio that I was teaching at, and he did marketing. He was doing yoga for trade. And we were talking about marketing, and he was like, yeah, I do marketing for small businesses. And I was like, can I hire you to like have a meeting and just like teach me what you know and run this by you? And he's like, yeah. So he told me, create a free offering that's very specific to the person you're looking for, and will lead right into what you're offering. And so we did that. We created that, launched it, and promoted it in that group. And it did exactly what it was supposed to do. It got all of the people that were building a business and interested in building a business onto our email list. And then right away, we pitched them, hey, if you're loving this, you're going to love Grow Workspace, because you're going to get so much more. We priced it incredibly low. It was $4.95. For the month for a membership. So the value that they got, the price that it was, and the nature of the community, they're network marketers, they're referral based people. They love talking. So kind of the combination of everything, the content was amazing. There was so much value there. It was what people were looking for and asking for, and the price was low, and they just by nature talk and refer. It was just accumulation of all of those things that just skyrocketed, and people signing up left and right.
I think what's important about that story for our listeners is that it wasn't social media wasn't your primary. It was, but it wasn't, you know, like when people think like they hear about starting businesses now, everyone's like, oh, get on social media, promote yourself on social media. It was, but it was more of a direct roundabout way. It wasn't like you going on, well, Instagram. I don't know if when was that? No, Instagram would have been around, but like,
Yeah.
it wasn't like you going on Facebook or Instagram just saying, hey, come to my summit and come download this. And you'd built all these connections beforehand that I feel like really helped you. And I was listening to another podcast. You know who Kiri Green is? She does the Female Entrepreneurs Association.
Okay.
She had a podcast episode about like, how can you build your business without social media or using it minimally? And that's almost like what that was.
Yeah.
So now that you and Claire are running this wonderful 7-figure multi-businesses, how do you balance between making money and spending money? And obviously there's a profit and you need to invest as well. What do you think has been the best investment in your business?
Hiring a team. 100%.
Ooh, let's go into that. I love that. Okay.
Yes.
So what was your first position? Not including Claire. Who was the first position that you hired for? And talk to me a little bit about if you've made mistakes hiring and advice for people who want to hire.
Yes. Okay. So our very first hire, technically, so I brought Claire in as a partner, and then right away we did hire a photographer who was a friend of mine. And again, it was like, I have no idea if we're going to get anyone to sign up. So we kind of agreed to share a percentage of the profits. That was kind of my first mistake. It didn't end up getting too sticky. She was a good friend and realized like, this is really your baby. And so I'm going to step back as like a percentage in partnership. So be very clear. And, you know, this is my advice, be very clear. And when you're hiring people, actually just hire them and pay them and count that as an investment in your business. Sometimes you have to take a risk, but I didn't really have any extra money to start this business.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was just trying to get creative and like, how can I get the work I need done, but not have to shell out a bunch of money? And that was the solution I came up with. And it could have gone a million different directions and it could have gone really bad. And thankfully it didn't. You know, she kind of stepped back in terms of like being a percentage partner, and we started paying her just for her time and her services. But she was technically the first person that we hired as a contractor. But really after we had got that going, the first person was a support person. So I was sitting in bed every night. We'd put the kids down. I would hop into bed, open up my laptop. My husband would hop in the bed, grab the remote, turn a show on, and I would start responding to the support email. Or we had a Facebook group that was with it. So I had to manually go in and check the Facebook request to the actual members, verify they were members, and add them in. And so just that tasky thing that happens over and over and over again, that was taking up personal time, to be with my husband. I was like, I have got to get rid of this. This doesn't light me up. It's not in my zone of genius. It's something that is on repeat. So I can teach someone how to do this and do it for me. So that was our first hire, was someone to run the support. And I think that's a great step to have, or basically the thing that you hate doing the most, or that takes up the most time. So I think I have this on a podcast episode, but an exercise, like write everything down that you have to do in your business, and then circle all of the things that you absolutely hate doing. And then underline the things that take a ton of time that you could pass off to someone, and then get rid of the things that either you hate or that you hate and take time. Right. And those are the first ones you focus on getting rid of. Because if you can free up more time to work in your zone of genius, you're going to be more successful. If you can free up all the things that take a ton of time, maybe you really enjoy it. Like I do enjoy copywriting and doing the marketing, but it's something I can easily hire out and then spend more time doing other things with my family on the boat, or spend in my zone of genius making more podcasts for people. Right. So being able to offload those. I've heard a lot of entrepreneurs that are just holding on too tight and they can't let go of those responsibilities. It's almost like if I let go of it, they have a fear of it's not going to be done good enough, but it's my baby, how can I let go of this? But that's the only way you're going to be able to grow and scale your business, you have to get help. So it's either help through automations, which I love teaching, and then help through hiring support.
How
So
big
it's
is your
kind of,
team? Oh, sorry. I thought.
no, that's okay.
Okay.
God, I just counted it up the other day because we're going to do an event with everyone. I think there's like 15 or 16 of us,
Wow, okay.
contractors that we've hired out, and everyone's a contractor. Some of them work for, other people and do different things. But yeah, there's quite
So
a bit
no
of,
employees, all contractors.
yeah.
Good for you. Okay. Interesting. That is really interesting. Because I'm wondering what is that point that someone decides that they want to get an employee or contractor? Because I've only worked with contractors too. And I wonder if that's my background. Like I am a contractor, so I know how that works.
Sure.
If I had to
Yeah.
hire an employee, I'd be
I
like, oh,
I think we just, hopefully not the wrong person listening to this, but I think we're just trying to get away with it as long as we possibly can. Right. Like they like the freedom and flexibility. I like to run my business to give those contractors freedom and flexibility. So if I'm not saying like, you must log in at this time and do this work and report to me, and I'm telling you everything, I would rather just hire someone who knows a bit about what they're doing. Yeah, sure. Maybe they need some coaching and training on like what the brand is about and what they really need to do, but coming in with some of that knowledge and just kind of turning it over. Hey, you can do it on your own time. You can do copywriting for other people. Like they can be a contractor, right? So if they're fitting the bill of being a contractor, why not? Right? Why not keep them that way?
So, you had a podcast episode about refunds recently, and how to minimize them. So let's talk a little bit about what happens when a client or a customer becomes unhappy. How do you rectify it? Yeah. Also, I guess related to this question, if you've learned from this unhappy customers, do you have anything now in your contracts or terms and conditions that you make sure is in there that would be good advice for others?
Yeah. So I talked about this in the podcast, setting expectations from the very beginning, right? Making sure they know exactly what they're purchasing and what to expect can decrease unhappy people. Because if they know what they're getting, they know what they're paying for, they know how it's going to work, there's no surprises. It's like the surprises and the expectation. You go in and you're thinking you're getting one thing, and then you're getting something completely different. That makes for an unhappy customer. And then they're like, I don't want to do this. Or setting the expectation that this is going to take time and work, right? Like one of our programs is pretty extensive. So if I go in and I say, yeah, like you can do this in 2 weeks, like that's not true, right? And even though they might want to hear that and speed up the process, it's not true. So if I tell them that, and then it takes them 4 times as long, they're going to be unhappy. So setting up the correct expectations. When we first launched DDA, we did have a couple people that requested a refund for that program. And I 100% asked why, right? And so then I was able to take that feedback and make sure that I was very clear how much time it was going to take them. Like they basically realized, 2 of the people realized that they didn't have the time in their schedule to dedicate to this. And even though I thought I mentioned it in the masterclass, like it wasn't enough, right? To say this is going to take you, dedicate 10 to 15 hours a week. And if you can't dedicate that time, no, it's going to take you quite a bit longer. Or if you don't have the tech skills, that's okay. It's going to take you longer. And so knowing that that was the reason, they're like, oh, I just didn't have the time that I thought I needed. I didn't realize I had to spend this much time. So they didn't want to do the program right now. So then changing our verbiage and what we said in our message and how many times we said it, 0 refunds the next time. Right?
How many times you said it? That's
right. And how many, and where we said it, people don't read. That's okay. Guilty. Like I don't either. Or I read the first half and I have a question. And so I send the question. And then if I would have just kept reading, there's the answer, right? I'm so guilty of that, but I know that's what my customers do as well. So, saying it in the masterclass, saying it in the emails, saying it on the thank you page, in the onboarding process where they fill out the intake form, there is a question or, something they have to fill out. Like, I understand like this takes time and whatever. Or, I ask how many hours, because this was a big one. How many hours are you planning to dedicate to this program over the next 2 months? 1 to 5 hours, 5 to 10 hours, 10 to 15 hours, based on what they respond. If they picked 1 to 5 hours, they get a statement that says, want to make sure that you're aware that it's probably going to take you longer than the time you have with the coaches to complete this because you're only dedicating 1 to 5 hours. So just constantly making sure that they're aware.
It's like reiteration.
Yes.
In multiple forms.
Yeah. So if you didn't hear it in the master class or you didn't see it on the whatever, like maybe you'll get it in the intake form. Right. And that's the same with marketing for the message. You can't put one little message one place and expect, everyone saw that. Everyone saw me promoting that. No, you have to do it in all different places, in your email, in your social posts, in your, classes that you're doing, on your podcast, sharing the message again and again and again.
Do you think there's ever a point where it's overkill? And referring to marketing specifically, not to the business part.
Yes and no. I think you have to get the message out there more than you think you do. But I've certainly gotten on someone's email list for, something that they claimed was ending very soon and literally got 5 emails a day. And I'm like, okay, that's a bit aggressive. Really? Like 5 emails a day for like a full week? Like, I get it. You either want me to jump in or you want me to unsubscribe. And if that's your method, then sweet, great. Okay. Then you're probably I definitely unsubscribed. She accomplished what she probably wanted. You're either jumping in or you don't need to, she didn't want me sitting on her list. So kind of depends on what your strategy and intention is behind it. But I think we have to talk about things a lot more than we think we do. We think everyone's paying attention. No. They're not. Most of the time they're not. So definitely sharing the message again and again. How do I handle refund requests? I try and come up with an alternative. I find out why they want to refund and see if there's something that we can come up with. Had someone else that said, I'm going through chemo treatments. I thought I was going to be able to handle this. And it's just, I'm beat. I cannot focus the time and energy. Okay, great. How about we pause your payments for up to 6 months and you can join us when you're ready. Perfect. They loved it. Right. So kind of getting creative in these one-off scenarios. And if at the end of the day, someone's really just like, no, I just want a refund, we just refund them. Like it's better to just have a happy person out there that feels like, okay, great, I got my money back, than someone who's very upset and going to go social blast you and find every ad and comment and do it. Like, it's not worth it. So just refund them and move on. They weren't your perfect customer anyway. Right. I
also tell people, it's like, you don't know what they're going through. Most 100%. Of the time people aren't going to be completely honest about your life. Like I just told you when we had our little blip there, like I was very honest about my life, but a lot of people is like, they might use other excuses. And so I feel like battling with someone over a refund or money back or whatever, sometimes it's like, you don't know what they're going through. So don't push it too hard. I agree that you should obviously try to be creative, try to keep them on board, try to do what you can. But at the end of the day, like you said.
Yeah. And my husband was just finished up his EMBA and he said, I asked him what was one of the most important things he learned in the entire program that he paid a lot of money for. And he said that sometimes for a business, it's in your best interest to actually lose money to get the bad customers out. So he said, if you have, because we were talking about the customer, just nothing could satisfy her, nothing. Like no matter how much support we gave, like everything, like she just wasn't going to be happy. And he's like, it would have been better for you to just not only just refund her, but pay for her to go do someone else's program.
Interesting.
I was like, I never really thought of that. We didn't do that. And she finished up and whatnot, but I just thought that was very interesting. He's like, it's in your best interest to like pass them off to somebody else, like as quickly as you can. And because if they're just not a right fit, they're not a right fit. And this comes from building your business, not from desperation, but from service. And like, if they're really not going to be happy, they're not going to find the transformation. then that's sometimes not on me, and it's okay. And you can have your money back to go work through what you need to work through. And then if you want to come back, you can come back. Right. As opposed to desperation, like, but I need this customer to stay. I can't give them a refund. I need this money, or it's going to look bad with my refund, or, whatever it is. Like, you have to not operate from that energetic state.
Reflecting on that, I don't think we heard from you what your biggest mistake was.
Yeah.
I just want to go into that briefly.
Yeah. So my biggest mistake was changing too much at one time. If you want to shift something in your business, pick one thing and make a shift. And this was past, hitting $1 million. It was actually right around the time it was like the storm of things, but it was right when iOS changed all their ads, everything with their ads, and basically the tracking on advertising completely shifted, and it was just really hard to track who was coming in from ads. So the price of ads skyrocketed. We were bringing in about 300 customers a month with our ads. And At the same time that shifted, we decided to completely revamp our website based on customer feedback. They wanted to be able to, find things easier and search for things. So we spent a lot of money on someone coming in to code for us to make those modifications. But at the same time, we decided to change the entire structure of our membership and what they got. Again, thinking we were solving a problem. And then we also decided to change the price, over double our price, because now instead of just signing up with the membership and getting content moving forward, and before they had to pay for past content, people would get confused by that. Like, oh, I thought I got everything. No, it's extra. So we're like, okay, let's just make a plan where they do get everything so that people aren't confused. But for that, we're going to double the price because now they have 3 years worth of content, right? So doubled the price. So made all of these changes at once. And at the same time, without us knowing, all the ad stuff was affected, completely changed how we brought in people and drastically dropped. And our cost per acquisition, cost per purchase, probably quintupled, which, is not great. And because we did all of the things at once, I have no idea what really caused it. Was it just the ads thing? Was it the fact that we doubled our pricing? Was it the fact that we just changed our whole membership? Was it a completely new website and process? I have no idea, right? So I can't even go back and say, okay, well, that didn't work, so let's go back to that. Like, it could have been one of many. So my recommendation is, if you're going to make a big shift and a change, do it one at a time. Or also with pricing specifically, do little increment increases, right? Like a couple dollars. If it's a membership, your price point's probably lower. So, a couple dollars every month or 2 months or something to kind of build up, just to see how people are responding and not completely shockwave your system, right? As opposed to like, now we're doubling. So we could have probably gotten to that double, but if we would have done it slowly, maybe it would have made a difference. Maybe not. Sometimes there's only one way to know, and it's to test. But because we just did everything at once, it's just hard to know what really happened, and still trying to recover from that. And it could have just been the ads thing. I mean, our ads manager just says across the board, all of her customers are the people that she services. The cost has just skyrocketed. And so maybe it's just that. Right.
But you'll never know.
But I don't know.
And that's the whole issue.
And that's driving me crazy. Right. So yeah. So just take things one step at a time, one change at a time, one tweak at a time. So here's an example on a smaller scale with funnels. Okay. A funnel, you have your website, your free offering, however you're getting people there, your email sequence, and the pitch. If people are not converting from a lead to a customer, there's a lot of different things that could be happening along the way, right? Even for like opening emails. Like, so is it that the subject line is not correct? Like not a good catchy subject line? Is it the messaging in the actual emails that's causing a problem? So if they can kind of stand alone, you could make adjustments at the same time. If your open rate on your emails is very low, then likely it's your subject line. That's not great, right? Or it could be you're bringing in the wrong people. Your outside marketing messages is not strong enough. It's not specific enough to bring in your actual dream customer. And so you're bringing in all these people that don't really care, right? So it's one of two things. So let's change one before we change both, because then we'll know what it is. So does that make sense?
It does. It does.
Okay.
It's essentially testing. It's just saying,
Yeah.
but do it one at a time and give it time and see what's happening and see what
Yeah.
changes you have to make. Yeah.
Giving time. I had to do the same thing with a food elimination diet. So if anyone can relate out there, it's like when you're trying to figure out what foods you're sensitive to, it's like total non-business example. The diet was you have to remove all of these inflammatory foods for 21 days to get everything out of your system. And then you could bring one food back in for 1 week and see how your body felt. And then, but in order to test the next one, you had to remove that food and then test the next food, right? But it wanted you to do it one at a time to really see, how am I responding to it? So the same thing applies to our business. Do one thing at a time, give it time, whether it's a week or 2 weeks or a month, based on how much time you think you really need to test. Like if your ads message, you might need to test that for a month to really see, do we have a better message bringing in the right people? No, there's no changes. Okay, let's go to the subject line. I mean, the subject line is so much easier to change. So start there and just see if that helps. If it doesn't, let's focus on the message. You know what I mean? But giving it time to test things.
That is great advice. What hurdles do you think, if any, have you faced growing and running a business specifically as a woman? Ooh, I stumped you. Oh,
You did. You did. Because I don't
maybe you don't have any.
Yeah, I don't.
You're in a service-based business kind of, so it might not be so much, but
yeah, there's certainly nothing that has stood out to me. I don't think about my gender as holding me back, so I don't approach things with that energy or with that mindset or thought or concept. So I don't care who you are, like I'm going to reach out to you and network with you and try and collaborate with you. I don't feel like I've ever been told no because I'm a woman or anything like that. So I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I don't think about that like as potentially being an issue. So
it could be your business too, because I've talked with people who have like more product based, or they're looking for VC funding and stuff like that, and that can be a little bit of a
right. And I haven't gotten to that
yeah.
point in that stage, right, where I've needed to do that to experience that. Yeah, and we service mostly women, so we do have a couple men that we help, but it's mostly women. So
but it's like, also that energy thing that I love that you were talking about, that energy thing and where your energy goes, and something that you don't think about, which I think is important too for our listeners to think about and realize that, like, if you have this mind block in your head, like, oh, because I'm a woman, I won't be able to do this or something like that, God knows, that's going to create an issue in your 100%. Mindset.
I'm big on manifestation. I'm big on, again, your energy. So if you have that constant thought in your head, the brain doesn't know the truth from a lie. So whatever you tell it, it's going to believe, and whatever it believes, it's going to, you are going to subconsciously look for that to validate what your brain is believing. So if you believe that you're being held back because you're a woman, your brain is believing that to be true. And so everything you look at is going to be with that filter and looking to validate that that is the truth. And so I imagine if you have that really strong belief, you're going to be able to find a lot of things that you can identify with, I'm being held back because I'm a woman. Whereas I don't have that thought in my brain, and my brain is like, no, I can do anything that I put my mind to and that I want to do. And I put that energy out there and I manifest that. And so my brain's not looking to validate that. It's looking to validate that, hey, if you want it, go get it.
I would love all women to have that in their head all the time. I think some women do, again, depending on the business, but could also be depending on them, be faced with these like roadblocks, but depending on your upbringing, so many factors, right? But they feel like they're being held back. And as like my podcast is specifically for people to be like, no, you can do this. You can get to the next level. Do you have any advice for women as they grow their business and want to hit this, $1 million tipping point?
Yeah. Believe in yourself, trust your intuition and your gut. That's kind of how I built my business. And I'm seeing that more and more with our students. Like they're having trouble trusting themselves. Like women are really powerful with their intuition and trusting their gut and kind of knowing what to do. Bring that you already have inside you, bring it to your business. Trust yourself.
But why do some women ignore it? Because this is something I've talked about too. Like trust your gut. That's my biggest advice. Just trust your gut. And then I sometimes am like, oh no, I'm not really feeling that. Like, no, that's not true.
It's learning certainly a lot more about yourself. I just recorded with someone about human design, and I'm learning more about that. And like naturally, based on my human design, I am someone who does, get this kind of gut feeling and leans into that. So kind of knowing and understanding yourself, past experiences have us take things in through our filter and cause us to respond and react certain ways. So 100% spending time on personal development, understanding more about yourself and why you respond in certain ways. I just remember after my first husband getting divorced, I was in an abusive relationship there. And my sister had asked me, why do you think you went with him? Why do you think you ended up with him? Why do you think you ended up getting married? And I never thought about that, ask myself that question. So asking yourself, why am I responding this way? Why am I not trusting myself? When can I think back? And I've done mindset coaching, which to me is like therapy. So embracing yourself in whatever kind of therapeutic thing that you can do to learn more about why you function the way that you do. Is it your human design and just how you were born? Is it a past experience? So if you're not trusting yourself, ask yourself, when is there a time in my life I can remember where I felt like I couldn't trust myself? Or when I did trust myself, it went horribly wrong. It could be a childhood thing. It could be something that just happened recently. But those experiences that we have shape how we go about things in the future. Subconsciously or consciously, we remember them. And so if you can think back to that time, that scenario, and work through that process and kind of let go and break free from that feeling. Gosh, the last time I trusted myself, I ended up in a horrible marriage. Right. And so instead of letting it affect everything in the future, letting go of that and saying it wasn't, he conned me into it. It's not because I'm not smart or I'm dumb or I'm easily swayed. It's like he was really good at the charm. He was really good at being slick about being controlling without me knowing. And so being able to let go and say, I'm still smart and I'm a good person, and I don't have to let that define every decision I make in the future, you can break free from that. So it's deep work.
Because all that's going through my head right now is if you have, you're talking about your childhood or an instant where you trusted yourself and it didn't go well, all I can think about is that it has to shake your confidence so much. And then that makes you more reluctant because you're like, oh, I don't want to have that again and have that confidence be wiped out again. And it could just turn into a cycle where you just aren't brave and don't take risks. And that kind of brings us all the way back to the beginning where I was saying, you have to be brave. You have to be brave about this. So this has been a great conversation. I could honestly go on for another 45 minutes at least. Tell us where we can find you, where your website, and of course this will be in the show notes, but your website, your courses you offer, your podcast, and on social media.
Yeah. So Instagram, Facebook, everywhere. I'm the Chrissy Chin. So Chrissy Chin was already
the
taken.
Chrissy Chin.
Yes. Yep. Whichever. The Chrissy Chin. So you can find me there. Website, the Chrissy Chin. So that's more my personal brand. Podcast is Badass is the New Black. So much great content there. We're in our 4th season. You can go back and listen to the refund. I think that was episode 15 or something of season 4. So yeah, you can tune in there and just follow along and connect with me if you feel called and inspired. I'd love to learn more about your business, what you're doing, share your wins with me, share your struggles. I'm here for it all.
Great. And now I just have one more question before we wrap this up. What is one philosophy, mantra, or quote that you try to run your business by?
Done is better than perfect. You'll hear me say it all the time and everywhere. You said it in my intro. Done is better than perfect, but also done is better than not done. And we strive for perfection, even if we're not a perfectionist. I'm not a perfectionist by nature, but I still like, and there's lots of, again, things subconsciously that maybe hold us back from launching the business or going in all in with it, or, starting that podcast or whatever it is. You want it to be perfect, right? Mm-hmm. But it's never going to be perfect. Mm-hmm. So you have to just do it. Done is better than perfect, because if you wait till it's perfect, you're not going to do it. And if you're not doing it, you're not serving. People need to hear your message out there. And so if you aren't pushing through that and living through that, done is better than perfect, because done is better than not done. I've got to get this out there. We all have to look bad. The first time my first podcast episode was not great. Right. But I did it and I learned. And how many people have heard my message now and have been helped because I live by that motto, done is better than perfect. So I believe in you guys. You can do it.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast, sharing your story, and hopefully we'll be able to see more of you in the future.
Yes, I would love that. I would love that. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you. And it's been great being here.
And for all our audience listeners, you know where to find us, share the podcast. And if you have any guest recommendations, I'd love to hear it. You can find me at Virtually Kiri. Thank you again.